We are back for round 4.
Yep.
Hell yeah. AGE Open. April, it is the month we're in, and I'm joined, of course, by Sam. How's it going, buddy?
Dude, it's going good. We got some great games out there. We just had an Oldham match go almost to time, but a pummel was able to close the game out. The very slow, respectful fist bump being thrown by the Scourge of Pasadena himself.
Oh, did he get
Craig
scourged?
Pollock got scourged.
Oh, Craig's having a rough day, I think. Meta seems not nice for Oldham currently. Azalea seems pretty good.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Azalea and Lexi both doing very well at the tournament. I will say the early rounds was not when I was necessarily expecting to see Oldham's take some game losses, and it has been how we have been seeing it at this tournament.
Yeah, exactly. I think round 1 they did pretty well, but it seems like round 2 they are.
Yeah,
round 2 and 3 they're struggling a little bit.
I don't think we have any undefeated Oldhams, so perhaps the reports of his demise, something greatly excel. Let's get into the game.
Yeah. So next up we've got Dorinthea and Lexi. Hell yeah. Aria and Bryce coming in, both undefeated at the moment. Both a bit of specialists on these heroes as well, so this should be a pretty fun one. Although I think this might be a hard one for Lexi.
Yeah, so in the last round, I was watching Aria play Zane, who he had on stream in round 2, and there was definitely Zane took a huge couple turns, ate a counter. But one thing I hadn't thought about before watching that game is how relevant that frailty token can be against a hero like Dorinthea. I've thought about it mostly for Kodachis or something like that when you get value or the spider bites. But when you let Dorinthea get a counter, but then hit her with the frailty token, it's like that value is immediately nullified. So we'll see how often that comes into play in this game.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm excited to see Bryce. I think he's mostly on a bit of an Ice Lexi build, so a little more traditional. Probably he's got some of the better new arrows in there. I would expect Drill Shot and a couple other things like the Codex. I'm not sure if he's running a bunch of Codexes. We might have his deck list around here, so we might look that up. But
yeah.
Also curious what Aria's got rocking in her deck, if she's got anything new to battle this kind of interesting meta that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, Dorinthea, it's been a minute since she's gotten some really significant support. But the thing about this hero is if you understand what the deck does, and especially when you play against people who don't understand what the deck does, you can really take some wins out of nowhere because that weapon is unlike anything else we have in the game.
Absolutely. It's an incredible value. I hate it with a passion of 1,000 suns.
But you'll be impartial in this game, right?
I was overruled. I said, no Dorinthea on stream, and they said, but it's going to be a good game. No, but we're excited to have Aria on here.
Yeah, local legend, Aria Howe. She has been just crushing events left and right since I started paying attention to the local scene here in Los Angeles, and pretty much all on Dorinthea. So it'll be interesting to see how this matchup plays out.
Yeah. So looking at Bryce's list, he's got the premeditates, drill shots, down and dirty. He's got the 3 red Arctic incarcerations. I know that's a pretty fun one. The Codex of Frailties, of course, the Rain Razors. I'm trying to see if there's anything else new and interesting, but I think that's mostly it.
I like seeing those down and dirties, getting ready for some Dromai if he has to play any Dromai. Pop that in the arsenal. You got two zones down there.
That one is pretty fun. Let's see, what does Aria got? Anything interesting here? Steelblade Shunts, 6 of those babies.
It doesn't look like running any Command and Conquers. We've been seeing people use the Out for Blood +1 on the next attack into something like a Command and Conquer.
The old classic warrior sidestep.
Yeah, you don't expect it from them, but none of that in this list. This looks to be about as Dawnblade focused as I've ever seen.
Pretty much. Anything else? No, it's basically that. I don't even know. Does she even have any attack actions?
Just the one nourishing emptiness, which
that
makes sense if you're gonna run them. Maybe just that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was playing some Blitz the other day, and I was remembering how much I hate nourishing emptiness in a warrior deck. I think they played it, and then I did the Codex of Frailty, and then they just put it back in the room.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, leave no witness, and they took it, and I was like, good, get that nourishing emptiness back.
You can't get it from the banish zone, my friend.
God, that's fun. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I'm hoping it's not a blowout. I don't know. It's just difficult when you don't have the equipment to help guard against some of Dorinthea's really tall or dominated attacks. But if Lexi can get that early tempo and maintain it, it can be unrelenting sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about I talked about this a bit when we had Lexi on stream round 2, but when these Lexi decks are going back to the ice variant, when they're putting those ice cards back in, you're getting less 3 blocks in your decks. The fuseless decks, when it's mostly arrows and pumps, you have these 3 blocks that are able to let your Lexi deck defend a little better, but into something like Dorinthea, where blocking at key points can be completely integral to actually succeeding and taking the win. When you're looking at Bryce's list, he's got the Arctic Incarcerations, he's got the Ice Quakes, you have these other ice cards that are making it a little more challenging, Insidious Chills to block 3. Or so you sometimes if you need to block 6 or 9, you're looking at a huge Dawnblade and you're trying to stop the counter from snowballing for the rest of the game. You look at a hand of 2 blocks. It's not like your equipment blocks for anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's more of the proactive disruption he's hoping for, rather than having that block value. But like we said, Aria did take down Zane, who is on that kind of fuseless Lexi build. So curious to see how she responds to Bryce coming in with the classic ice.
Yeah, and Bryce running mostly arrows. We've seen Lexi's running Death Touch. We've seen them, I think Zane was on both Death Touch and the Codex of Blood Rot, but we just see that Codex is a frailty here, the premeditates. I'm not even seeing the Go Again arrow, the Falcon Wing in this list. So this is going to be a
Bolton shots.
Yeah,
it's
but
got 9 Bolton shots. But yeah, Falcon Wing, I think is good. I think with the Bolton shot, it's got that reload, and that's also really full.
Absolutely. So looks as though Aria is going to be going first here. We've got the counter on the Tunic. Turn 1.
Or
not.
Maybe she just put it there preemptively.
And then maybe Bryce just missed his Tunic.
I think she passed, and maybe he's just loading with his.
Yeah, but why no Arsenal then? I see. This is the end of the turn. This is the end of the turn. Okay, yes. This is instant.
Now is when you play the CNC and just ruin the Rangers' day. But
Yeah.
She doesn't have it. That's always the fun thing. Is just like, I passed, and they're like, cool, I Arsenal. You're like, cool, CNC.
Yeah, exactly. I actually get to keep going now.
I forgot about that. So yeah, she will
use this opportunity
to just Steel Blade Supremacy coming in for was it 4 or 5? Is it +2 on Steel Blade?
I think it's 5. Yeah, so
5.
+2.
Draw a card on hit. Just pretty good.
That is pretty cool. You give him the chance. You think it's so rare when you on this situation as Lexi when you activate Voltaire at instant speed at the end of your opponent's turn 1 that anything else happens and you can really get punished for that. But now Bryce is left with 2 cards in hand, as we've said. It looks like one of them blocks for 2.
Yep.
So this is going to come in. Aria's going to get to draw a card here. Does she have a way to give it go again? Does she want to blow up those refraction bolters right away?
I'm always curious about that. I feel like sometimes Warriors do it immediately, and you're like, really? You're not going to save that for a more important turn? But they try to get in there pretty deep, pretty quickly.
Yeah, this could be a huge turn if there is a way to give go again. There is going to be a draw card on hit.
Yep.
So it looks like she's stacking the triggers. She wants to.
She's thinking about it.
Yep. And she's going to go for it. Yeah, because she's going to get a counter here most likely. There's only 1 card in hand.
Yeah.
If we have any way to, even the Brave Forge Bracers can make this come in with the breakpoint. Bryce immediately is feeling the repercussions of going for that seemingly innocuous and meaningless Voltaire at the end of Aria's turn.
Yeah. You always got to be wary when anybody does that to you. If you have the ability to do something in response to them passing, it is more often than not, I think, a bait. So that, hard lesson learned for Bryce there. Dorinthea not huge in the meta, so it is one of those things where sometimes you just forget.
You're not used to it, yeah.
You're not used to it, and this is one of those. It's the time where you go, hopefully we'll never forget this.
Yeah, it's kind of like we talked about at the beginning of this game. Dorinthea prays against players and heroes that aren't well versed in playing into Dorinthea. If it's more challenging to understand exactly what Dorinthea can do at any point, you can really get got by something like that last turn we just saw, because now Bryce is starting this game instead of even exchanges. Bryce has taken 12 damage. He's at 28, and there's a counter on that Dawnblade.
Yeah. So hopefully he's got something to really either force her to block or slow her down enough that her next turn will be a little bit nullified, because it could be easily, run away with the game here,
From here, yeah, absolutely.
which is always the scary bit. Looked like another Steel Blade Supremacy in Arsenal. 3 of a kind. Okay, so that's not bad. He's got another Bolton shot. So, could be possibly a very wide turn for our boy Bryce here, but let's see what he's got.
Without something in Arsenal to continue this turn or give it something like a pump, we can see he was maybe looking for that ice card to fuse with this chilling here. Because without a buff or something else in Arsenal, this 3 of a kind could threaten to not get nearly as much value as you'd like it to. But if you have a way to start the chain with something like the chilling ice fin effect, digging for an ice card makes a little more sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he did. I mean, he had an ice card. Well, he must have had at least one ice card.
And maybe it was just that winner's bet. Who knows?
Yeah, but yeah, getting this on the very start of the turn is just the value you want, because everything after this is going to hurt that much more. And that's what I was just saying. Is he wants something that's going to force her to block or mess up her turn. So it's going to be. I hope you've got a blue to either pay for all these hits and take a bunch of damage, or you're just going to block up a bunch and lose that counter. So it could be a great clapback for Bryce to gain some tempo. Hopefully he can get some little life bleed in there too, because sitting 12 down at the start of turn 0 is not usually where you want to be.
Because if Aria takes all this damage and has the blue like you're talking about to pay for this chilling ice veins effect, then that's a blue that she doesn't get to use on her turn, and she maybe needs those resources to really get the most effectiveness out of that Dawn Blade. So this is, as we, if you're gonna have the turn 0 that Bryce did, it's perhaps a good way to not just completely get blown out from the start of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So blocking with the Brave Forge and the run through, I think that is. Blocks the 5. What is next? He does have the other Bolton shot, which is nice. He could give it the +1 to get the go again. Not sure if he's got something. He's not going to be able to get that other Bolton shot off, I think, with the go again. But we'll see, unless he does some bullseye bracer shenanigans.
Going to go ahead and put in the drill shot here.
All right.
Can immediately go ahead and threaten that Crown of Providence.
I see a lot of people groaning out in the field today about this card. So
drill shot has been wild in the games I've been watching. Just the amount of value that is accrued from the threat of the -1 counter and then the -1 counter itself. And this one has 2 on-hit triggers. It's going to get the -1 counter if it hits from drill shot's effect, but then also that chilling ice vein, as we know, is for the entire chain.
Yeah.
And
love that for him.
We love that for him. We love that for Bryce. I mean, after that first turn, brother. He also has the option here, depending on what Aria does, depending on if she's looking to keep cards and maximize her turn. This has go again. Bryce has the option to just play out that Arctic Incarceration and just throw 3 more Frostbites on the other side of the arena, which, if we don't have that blue, if we haven't represented that blue yet, it's going to make it hard for Aria to utilize those cards as effectively as she wishes.
Yeah, they love throwing that, even after a single attack, you think oh, okay, I'll block this or I won't block this, so I can block the next one that has an on-hit, and they're just here's 3 Frostbite, and you're like, great, I didn't block what I needed to, and now I can't do anything on my turn.
Well, I just realized there was actually a 3 of a kind at the start of this turn, so that actually is not an option for
yeah, totally.
Because he can't play that from Arsenal. It's buried under those 4 cards.
Ranger things. That's going to be something I mess up for a long time. Yep. So looking like we might get a Crown of Providence. I mean, great. You love to see it to get these powerful equipment blocks super early. I think. I mean, I don't know. It's a thing where you're like, I like that it's gone, but also I'm concerned about what's happening next. It's usually the 2 thoughts I have in that exact order. Cycling out a card from hand with that as well, but it looks like she will take 2, so we will get the Chilling Ice Vein trigger. See if she pay. I would assume she's going to pay for it, but we'll see what happens. And then what Bryce does next.
And it's, the Crown of Providence doing a good job of filtering. Perhaps Varia's looking for more resources or looking for some way to better make her turn the way she wants, but you have to wonder if there's going to be a turn later in this game that she wishes she had the crown, and being forced to use it against something like a drill shot or watch as it becomes suddenly less effective and block for even less if that's going to have an impact later in the game, proving once again just how impactful that card can be. The equipment block is so important in Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
And to have a card that dang near forces it is Ranger's pretty good right now.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, too. I feel like there's some parity between Ranger's lack of defensive equipment and a card like Drill Shot that demands, basically an equipment block or a full card block from hand. And I think that while still probably feels bad on the other side of it, makes up for a little bit of that lack of ability on Ranger's side to block as effectively. So Bolt and Shot coming in, no go again, but
threatening that chilling effect once again. That's the whole chain here. So
blue she pitched though, so you should be able to afford it, but this will make her next turn much less good.
Yes,
as
so
they
this
say
is
in the business.
Not much life has been leaked so far. Aria right now sitting at 38. Bryce looking like he's just going to go ahead and pass priority, but that did, as good a job as you could ask about ripping cards out of Aria's hand, getting equipment block right away. In fact, all of it is gone now at this point.
Yeah.
Because he was able, on the effect of the
drill shot.
Put a second counter on that. Brave Forge Bracers there, so now we're going to get a Dawnblade coming in 4/4, threatening to keep the counter if it hits. We don't know what we said. You said it might have been a Steel Blade Supremacy in the arsenal, but if it is not some kind of attack reaction and pump effect, see how many cards is Bryce willing to lay down here to attempt at least to stem the bleeding of this counter before it can get even more out of control.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what he's got in hand and how much he can continue to disrupt Aria. If he feels like he can carry that through his whole next turn, which it looks like he's going to do. I mean, in this case, it does just keep the counter. It's not a chance of it going up, which I think is the scarier bit. But that is,
Yeah, it's impressive. If I have the option to potentially stop a Dawnblade counter, it's hard for me to resist when I play against Dorinthea, and it's just I perhaps am too fearful of what that Dawnblade can become. But to just eat 4, keep the counter alive. Let's see how Bryce wants to continue and show us why he was willing to keep that thing live.
Yeah, interesting that he arsenaled this Bolt and Shot instead of the Arctic Incarceration. I feel like, the value of the Bolt and Shot is getting it, the +1 with Voltaire, so you reload and go again, you get all these, alternate benefits that, and then this Arctic Incarceration just, stays in hand. But I don't know. I don't play Lexi, so I just know that the red Arctic Incarceration is painful.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this Pathing Helix as well, not able to get the reload trigger because of that Bolt and Shot sitting in Arsenal. So this is just going to be 4 damage here. Aria taking it, going down to 34, and then he is just going to go ahead and finish the turn with that Arctic Incarceration, giving the 3 Frostbites, perhaps representing that he wants this Bolt and Shot to really be played on a turn that he has something like a Rain Rage, which we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Something that allows him to pump it up and go even wider, threaten more reloads. He's playing towards a little bit more of that kind of combo-y Lexi that we saw around the Starvo time that was very popular. He doesn't, I don't think he runs the Art of Wars, but that deck was really playing for those 4 to 5 arrow, incredibly high damage turns and was willing to take damage and mitigate the mid-game to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, I think he's counting on this Arctic Incarceration to at least slow Aria down, which definitely does. It's nice to see that Overpower get pissed rather than, pushed on you. But Warrior's Valor coming in, going to make this a 7 Dawnblade swing, I think. So that's scary. Let's go again on hit as well. So this is potentially threatening the second Dawnblade counter, which I'm surprised. I'm curious if I did see that Steel Blade Supremacy go in Arsenal, or if I didn't see that correctly, just because this seems like a great turn to do that on. So we'll see. I always give these players the benefit of the doubt because they are better than me. Or else I would.
They're out there. We're sitting here in these comfy chairs.
As I told someone earlier today, I've gone undefeated today. So
that's true. Hey, me too, man. Congrats. Well done, dude. Look at us.
You can't lose 100% of the games you don't play.
That was Michael Jordan. I think you said
He
that,
said
right?
that, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He
Didn't
was a great pacifist.
yeah, yeah, he was.
So yeah, 7, and Dorinthea Aria, asking the question: do you just want to take this damage and try to do more damage than I can come back?
And now this is a much harder position to try to block this Dawnblade and stop either the counter or the threat of an additional counter, because now it's coming in for 7, whereas the turn before you had the opportunity to lay 2 or 3 cards down and potentially block that 4 and reset the ticking time clock, or ticking time bomb that this Dawnblade can become. And again, as we talked about, we don't know how many 2 blocks are in the hand for Bryce, and if you're going to just keep eating the damage, eventually, like, you lose that game in the long run. The Dawnblade just gets too powerful. It gets too many counters, and without equipment that can really do a good job of mitigating it, I don't know if Lexi wins that long game.
Yeah. I know you were pointing out before, I think we came on stream, the frailty really can have an effect on against the Dawnblade. But once that Dawnblade counter gets above 1, that is kind of nullified, and it's still just a problem.
Yep.
But he is taking it. Bryce twiddling. He's just over here having a good time. Cool, calm, collected. Bryce, baby, come on, let's go.
Come on.
Of course, we're going to get the Brave Forge activation, and then, yeah, we'll just do this for 5.
That's, 5 more damage coming in, and Bryce acting like he's just going to go ahead and take this, go down to 12 here, give a second counter.
He's got his 6-card hand. He's got 2 Chilling Ice Veins. I don't see like maybe the Rain Razors in Arsenal. Like, I don't know. I'm scared for him, but let's. He does look like he's more considering a block here as he sets 2 cards aside. It is daunting when the Dawnblade starts stacking up its counters, and I don't know. I grew up in the Dawnblade Dorinthea meta, and I hated it.
What was that like as a young boy playing in the Dawnblade Dorinthea meta?
It was sad.
Growing up in that time.
Back when I was playing Viserai before he was good, and Reinar, who was also just okay, and it was a rough time. But those scars have healed mostly.
I'm sorry to hear you're not all the way recovered. Let me know if you ever need to talk.
I do all my therapy on the air.
That is as healthy as it gets, from what I understand.
I just complain about it whenever I see it.
Yep.
So he just takes it.
He's just going down to 12. So Bryce representing what must be an enormous turn on the crackback to allow for all that damage to be taken and for that Dawnblade to go up to 2 counters.
Yeah,
so
for his sake, I hope so.
Yeah, for the sake of a competitive game,
yeah.
Let's see what can happen.
He does have the Pulse of Voldhaven, so that's a great card to start with. So he's going to get that +4. Activates the Tunic. 3 of a kind coming in. And now he's just got a bunch of cards. So yeah, he plays that Pulse of Voldhaven just so he can play that 3 of a kind. Otherwise, you find yourselves in that situation where you say, oh yeah, I have to play everything from Arsenal.
Yep.
Which is already a tricky thing to do. But, he's got his Bullseye Bracers to kind of help with that. He's got the Bolton Shot to, hopefully get that reload. And we'll see how he dances his way through this.
So he's going to go ahead and elect to start the turn with activating Voltaire for the very first time. Then going ahead and shooting a Chilling Ice Vein. It's going to be coming in for a total of 8, and it is going to affect, again, that whole chain. He's fusing it with the Blue Winter's Bite, so every attack that hits from here on out is going to represent discarding a card or paying 1.
Yep.
So that pulse that we were looking at the very beginning of this turn could have gone on the Bolton Shot there to give it the go again, threaten the reload, allow it to start the turn rather than potentially end the turn.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks as though he is, and perhaps rightly, valuing starting the chain off with that Chilling Ice Vein, even if the pump is less relevant on a card like Chilling Ice Vein.
Yeah.
What you're really doing it for at the start of the turn is to threaten the effect for the rest of this here. Now, with that Rain Razors in hand, it's gonna be tough to get it into his arsenal without something like a Bolton Shot trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be something he looks to do on his next turn. But we'll have to see first how Aria wants to block this 8 damage with an on-hit effect.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he's able to chain this out long enough and force the blocks from Aria, he can have that Rain Razor set up for his next turn, which means if he can get that tempo, do some damage, and then just carry that through, that's going to be really, really great for him. but she's at a healthy life lead, so she could just decide to take some of this damage and pitch a blue, which we saw her do last time. So looks like we're starting, taking 8.
Yeah, because without taking all the cards out of the hand here, even just pitching one and swinging,
Yeah.
you know, that's going to take 2 cards most likely. And she is going to go ahead and use the blue. She has 2 floating. So now we'll see how much more damage can Bryce throw. And if, at this point, if you lay your whole hand down on the next turn, where does that put you? So let's just stick in the turn we're at. Voltaire going to probably be activated again here.
I wonder if he does a second Chilling Ice Vein to hopefully try to hard punish her on the resources.
Yeah, just demand the cards, demand the resources, because critically...
Like, sure, don't take damage, but you will pay for this either way.
You will pay for this.
But instead, we got a Heat Seeker in there, which I forget what that does.
Heat Seeker, if it hits, you're going to get to put the top card of your arsenal face down, top card of your deck face down, face up into your arsenal if you have an open arsenal zone.
Nice. So another way of getting around that 3 of a kind.
Yeah, it'll be the end of the turn, so it would start up on your next turn. It's going to, at the end of the turn, you put the top card of your deck.
Oh, it's at the end of the turn.
Yeah,
okay.
But critically, if he is able to, and it doesn't looks like Aria is content here to just keep as many cards as she can, because that tunic counter is no longer online. So even if she did lose all her cards, she would not have a way to send it in. But it looks like this Bolton Shot's just going to be coming in for 4. Once again, threatening that one resource she has remaining.
Mm-hmm. He does have 2 resources floating. I'm curious if he'll try to Snapdragons and Bullseye Brace or something into his arsenal to extend this turn and go for as much damage as possible, and then also grab get that Rain Razors into his arsenal. But
looked like he was. Oh, perhaps he's going to go for the Quiver.
Oh, he's pitching the Rain Razors. Nice. Okay. Quiver activated. Gets another Heat Seeker. Snapdragons.
Give it go again.
Interesting.
This is cool. So the Quiver of Rustling Leaves was activated there. Going to take the top card of the deck, put it in the arsenal. If I think it either just puts it in or you look it in, and if it's an arrow, you put it in. But regardless, he got another card into his arsenal, broke those Snapdragons like you were talking about, and is now coming in for a second Heat Seeker. This one threatening the same effect and threatening that one resource that Aria has remaining. This is for another 5.
Nice. Pretty great turn from Bryce here. The problem being that Aria can still take this and then present a pretty punishing turn following this.
Now, if Bryce does elect to lay down a lot of his hand on the next turn, he is going to have at least 1 card in his arsenal, and most likely 2 here. He's going to have the card in his hand and that Heat Seeker card that is going to come and face up, allowing for the arsenal to, allowing for him to have 2 arsenal zones. So he might be able to still threaten some damage. So there's a Frostlock. And he gets ahead and gets 2 arrows, and neither of them have Go Again printed on the card.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to find a pump here to get that Bolton Shot out and allow it to actually continue his turn if he's even able to keep any cards here. But pretty cool to see how he was able to navigate that situation.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. The getting the Heat Seeker off the top seems like it may be an issue, to be honest. Like, you don't have a choice on what's going in there, so you can't really craft your turn. And like you said, these don't have Go Again. He just lost his Snapdragons. I don't think Bullseye's Bracers gives a Go Again, right?
No, Bullseye is just going to put a card from your hand into your arsenal and then give it +1.
Yeah. So that's going to be difficult to deal with. And then there we go. Steel Blade Supremacy was what was in her arsenal. So now we're just coming in for a classic, 7.
Oh, I think he has a Premeditate in his hand, which is going to allow him to turn that Bolton Shot on if he decides to keep any cards to move forward. But maybe at this point he's thinking, I just got to take some counters off this thing. But he's at 12.
He's at 12, but she's at 16. So,
yeah.
That's not like Lexi can put out a good 20 damage in turn. So she's got no more equipment. I don't know if she's running her Steel Blade Shunts against Lexi. So that will be... We'll have to see. He's, again, looking like he's going to block, but the last time he did that, he just didn't.
So we're coming into what looks to be some of the home stretch here. Bryce sitting at 12 life, Aria at 16. The Steel Blade the Steel Blade Supremacy, pumping up the Dawn Blade to 7, 2 counters already, representing at least keeping the counters on a hit, and potentially even more if Go Again is able to be achieved.
Yeah, be very scary if she's got like a glistening
Mm-hmm.
in her hand there. So looks like we are getting the full block, which I feel like is the safer play.
And there it is. That's
Yeah,
going to be
the
an
out for blood.
For blood. Aria had to take a quick drink before she threw down that attack reaction.
You know, she's working up a thirst, just stabbing Bryce with her Dawn Blade over and over again. Draws a card, puts it into Arsenal. Dawn Blade keeps its counters, so this is getting to looking like a dire situation for Bryce. He's got 2 cards that don't have Go Again, but he does have the Premeditate. So at the very least, he's getting +3 on this guy, coming in for, that's a 6 with Go Again. Reload on hit, although I think the reload only works if you have an empty arsenal, so that's less of a deal. But he does have the Frostlock, which could potentially be punishing if he's got an ice card to fuse it. Because I think with Frostlock, you can't pitch
or play cards with cost
0.
0 if it hits, but I don't know if he's going to have the resources. He only has 1 card in hand here, so he can, and I think it's a Cold Snap, so that Cold Snap could be used to play this Frostlock, which would leave him without an arsenal facing down Aria's next turn, or he could elect to arsenal the Cold Snap for a Frostbite on the next turn, but first, Aria has to deal with this attack for 6. Bryce sitting at 9 life. Aria looks like she's just going to take it, go down to 10. All right, and we do have the Ponder token from the Premeditate, so that is going to allow Bryce to, if he wishes, continue the turn and arsenal something with the Ponder, but it looks like he's going to, and drawing a Channel Lake Frigid there. He's going to go ahead and pop that into the arsenal.
Nice.
Keeping the, but critically, by doing that, he keeps a 2 block in his hand instead of a 3 block, facing down a 5 card hand from Dory, sitting only at 9 life. So you have to wonder if that's going to come back to affect this turn at all, because while we're looking at even life total, Bryce sitting here at 9 life, Aria at 10, it's Aria's turn. You're facing down a Dawn Blade with 2 counters and a grip full of cards and potentially pumps.
Yeah, and your only equipment block will destroy both those cards in your arsenal if you use it. So this is a little scary.
Seeing at least 3 blocks in Bryce's hand. But
Ooh,
this is...
That doesn't matter because I have Dominate. Oh, and a Glistening Steel Blade. This is all the things.
You can see, go for it. You can see Bryce just his eyebrows raised. You even saw our head judge Evan with a little smile. This is going to be Dominate. This is going to be counter on hit. It has Go Again from the Glistening Steel Blade. This is tough.
I think Glistening Steel Blade was a mistake.
Yeah, Glistening Steel Blade is tough. It's such a powerful card for such a peaceful piece of art.
Yeah, right?
She's just sitting there looking at this glistening blade of steel. But every time it's played across from you, I feel like the drums of war sound.
This young
Blood
woman
rains
has
from the
murder
sky.
in her heart as she caresses her sword in her bedroom.
So at this point here, is Bryce even going to be able to stay alive on the turn? He's blocking 3. He's going to take, it looks like, 6 from this. An immediate counter is going to be placed right upon the Dawn Blade for the next turn, unless there's any further reactions, which there is not. That's going to pump up the Dawn Blade again. I love that she's got the 2 of them. So this now comes in for 7 just.
7 Dominate. I think that's good game.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be any way to do anything about that without giving up the New Horizon. And we still have a card in hand that could be something like another Ironsong.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, I guess if he could block 5, nah, that still doesn't seem like there's much getting around what's about to happen here. And do we have...
Taking 2, going to 1, losing both the Arsenal cards. The Dawn Blade is going to
5
counters. Oh, because 1 from Dory, 1 from Glistening Steel Blade.
That's the thing, you know, it can seem like you need to...
the loudest door in the world. The loudest door shut I've ever heard in my life.
It seems like sometimes you can like get around the Dawn Blade and like the counters and go for your aggressive plan, but unless you can really guarantee that you're going to disrupt and force blocks out of their hand, you do need to find that turn that's, you know, on 1 counter or 2 counters that you basically just full block, and even then you can get hard punished for that.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be it, unless I mean we're going to play the game of it's just a Dawn Blade for 8.
You can see Bryce shaking giving the nod.
I get you. I see what you're doing here.
Yeah, you just have to lay the whole hand here, right? We see, but there's another 2 block in that Arctic Incarceration. He's checking the blocks right now.
Or you're just checking out the ceiling. You know, those are nice lights up there. It's a good little stream setup we got over here at Arcane Games and Events.
Aria setting herself up to be 4-0 and locked for top 8, I have to imagine, from that point.
Definitely. We got 6. And there's a route.
Just showing us the route, in case we were curious.
Hey, everybody, check this. Check this out.
And we're just going to route for game here. That's going to go ahead and clean this one up. Let's take one of the 3 blocks away. Let's add 2 for a total of 5. Fist bump extended.
Good game.
Aria taking the victory over Bryce. The Lexi Slayer, our 2 Lexis went into the last rounds undefeated. One fell to the round. Zane fell the round before. Bryce falling to the Dawn Blade here. Aria showing that even though she's the only Dorinthea in the room, she is to be respected on the hero at all times. Just because there's not high representation of a hero does not mean they cannot be devastating.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be... I feel like there's still both Zane and Bryce have a shot at making top 8. They have done pretty well. So if they can win out the next couple rounds, might see a repeat action. Maybe they'll get a bit luckier and get some of those more blowout combo turns from Lexi, but we'll just have to see. Just to look back at our metagame breakdown, the Zalias showed up in force today, and they told Oldhim to go play somewhere else because they've just been getting stomped all day, it seems. Not sure how our Dromeyes are doing. I know the AGE champ from last month, Zachary Wallach, was doing pretty well, but I know he lost. He was on stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lost on stream. Outside of that,
Andrew Rudin, a very well respected and well decorated player, also lost the last round before this to Bryce.
Yeah, to Bryce, on Lexi. So, definitely a great mix of heroes and stuff. Crazy to see the one Dorinthea player rise into the top here. We'll have, some more information on heroes that are also doing well. But, so, I mean, been a good day. I guess, we have some time. So, maybe we'll go into the old think tank and...
Is it time?
Oh, we're gonna do a
momentarily
short
it's time.
break, and then we'll be back for some thoughtful things with me, Colin, the pondering man. We'll be right back.